All right, so, my council meeting to order and ready for a roll call? Great.
And Barbieri.
Yeah.
Clark Bullen.
Here.
Here.
Greg Shelton. Jared Henderson.
Yep.
Lori Strigham. Lisa Greenhart.
Here.
Lindsay Longton.
Here.
Marcy Hausman.
Here.
Matt Holton. Nick Griffith. Nicole Handy.
Here.
Terry George.
Here.
Tessa Stitzer.
Here.
All right, I think we're good. All right, so we'd like to open the meeting for public comments. Any members of the public which would like comment for the board, can do so now. All right, seeing as there is none, we will close the meeting for public comment. Next item on the agenda, we have consent items to approve the board minutes for the meeting of May 18th, 2026. Does anyone have any concerns with any of those minutes or anything that they would like to amend? All right. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve board minutes for May 18th, 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so passing board minutes. All right, on to business items. 3.1. We have the annual comprehensive financial report. Audit?
That's all.
Okay, all right. So it looks like we have some guests here to go over that financial report in audit for us. Okay. So, Evan, do you want to say anything, or just turn time over to?
I'll let Helen introduce the discussion, and, partners with Flyer, who conducted the independent audit earlier.
Okay, all right, Helen.
Yeah, as long as it's kind of green, I'll let you start going over the reports and then I'll go into pieces of the after.
Great.
Thanks for having me this morning. I've also brought Angel, he's back here with us. He helped do a lot of the test work as well. So, all right, so I'm going to start on page 17 of your document. That is our auditor.
It's not in the packet.
It can be in that, or I have some here. Does anybody need a copy?
Did you get one?
Oh, sorry, good one.
Right there.
This should be.
Yeah, looks like it's up there.
So much.
So, our job is to come in ultimately, and so audit the financial statements. So that means, do a bunch of test work, look at the support that you have to ensure that the numbers that Helen's gonna go over here in a minute are supported, that they're accurate. And that they reflect the proper results for the year, that the district had, right? So that's our job, and ultimately to issue an opinion. So you can see up there on page 17, or if you're along the book, the very top two paragraphs is the opinion that we provide. Our opinion for this is what's called a clean opinion, a modified opinion. These numbers were good. We were able to get the support we needed, and the things were in order for us to be able to get that clean opinion. Okay, so that's our good opinion there. The rest of this page kind of goes through your responsibilities as management, and then the board for your control over it, and then our responsibilities for the audit. But we'll skip those things. But so again, clean opinion on there. I'm actually gonna, for me, our next report is clear down on page 86. The rest of this ACFR is your document, your thing. So I'm just gonna go through our report. So page 86. Looks like we'll get there, but I'll just keep going. So that's the internal control report that we're required to do for government auditing standards. So as we test and as we look at your controls, if we identified something that needed to be communicated, some type of deficiency, some type of issue, this is the report that would identify that. Our report here does not identify anything because we did not find anything if we did our test work that needs to be communicated to you as a board. So the controls were working, there were proper approvals in place and proper support. Things are working as they should, and so don't have anything to note to you there. And if we flip the page and go down two more online, page 88, you're also required to do an annual state compliance audit. That's issued by the state auditor. They set the guidelines in their office of what we do. Indented there right near the top is the areas that we looked at this year for the district, starting with that budgetary compliance and ending with Utah retirement system. So there were those 5 areas. And then again, it says, in our opinion, the district has complied in all material respects with these state compliance requirements. So no issues to identify in there. Everything that's needed to be done in the state compliance audit, we were able to see. Whether it was a report being submitted, whether it was employees being enrolled timely, budgets being approved by you here as the board, different things, we saw all of those, and so nothing to report there. So things look clean, awesome. So we appreciate Ellen, Evan, Molly, the team as we work with them. And just know as a board, as we asked different items, they provided it to us. They were able to provide it timely, and we didn't have any serious issues or anything that we couldn't get done. So we just appreciate their efforts in helping us do our job too to continue to enforce issues. So.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. And I also wanted to say thank you to Kyle and Angel and their whole audit team. They have been great to work with as well. So thank you so much. A big shout out to Molly Jensen, who's here, our treasurer and accountant. She's done a lot of work on this as well. So thank you to her. And this is a 91-page document, as you can see. So if you start with page 1,
But the Monday.
I'm just gonna quickly go over a couple of just the basic financial statements, starting on page 32, which is our statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, which is our operating statement. Just want to kind of show you the bottom line of what we did this year. We started with our revenues looked at 32,726,425, and then we had our operating expenses of 28,600,000, and then our operating revenue over expenses at 4,125,000. We take into consideration non-operating items such as interest expense, interest income, gain and sale and disposal of assets, and gain on investments. And our change in net position for the year was $4,482,498. That brought our net position to an ending net position of $27,738,727. If there are any questions on this particular statement. And if we go then backward a little bit, I'm going to take you back to the balance sheet just so you can see it's starting on page 30. That will show us our assets and deferred outflows of resources. We can see the cash. I should have added this up before I came. The cash in our checking account and the state pool added up to about $5.7 million. Our investments were about $3 million. So that was our totality of cash and cash equivalents. And then if you go to the next page, you can see that this does tie out the net position of $27,738,727. This page shows our liabilities and deferred inflows. That's pretty much the simplest way I can present what we have here. If there are questions about these statements or anything else in the act or in any document. No? Okay. Okay, we do have a lot of several notes that are an excellent explanation of some of the things happening in these statements. And of course, our ending and mentions discussion and analysis would explains a lot as well. So you just kind of want to put an overview of that one. It is actually really good lunch if you'd like to do that on your own. Well, as of course available for questions as it's ever. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you very, very much, everybody. Ellen, Molly, team, we really appreciate all your work on this. Does anybody have any questions?
So this is a very robust process and kudos to Molly, Ricker, and Helen for working through this and Swire for their partnership and supporting. Helen and I had some discussions about the cover page, which I was gonna have her maybe point out, but we thought it was
Super cute.
Curious little boy with a little fun, kind of finding out what's going on.
That's great.
there is a separate management discussion and analysis section, variety of other information, looking at economic forecasts and outlook as well. So if there are questions, feel free to reach out to Helen and myself. Happy to discuss. We did allocate in 25 minutes for this item this morning, so if there is more information that this body would like to discuss, we're happy to do that.
Anyone online, any comments? Because we really, like I said, we really appreciate everyone's work on this. We know this represents many hours and so we appreciate that. All right. Thank you very much. All right, and then.
You can acceptance, it's just.
Yes.
Oh, we need to approve it? Oh, okay, sorry. So we do need to, take a motion to accept the, ACTWR document, if I can get a motion for that.
This is Lisa. Move we approve this document.
I will second.
Okay, I've got the motion in a second. Do we need to do roll call or? Can we, okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? So we accept this ACTWR, setting it once again.
Let me check and see who the second was.
Oh, who is the second on that?
I seconded, but maybe someone in the room did as well, so I'm not sure.
Oh, I think it was you, Marcy, so we appreciate that. Okay, but we just need to get that for the record. Thank you.
Of course.
This has been uploaded to the state auditor's website and all of the necessary documents. Helen has taken care of that. And
Great.
Excellent.
it's actually completed.
That's awesome. Thank you so very much. Okay, all right, general manager report.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We have about 20 minutes for this and happy to take any questions or comments. Renee, can you go to the first slide, please? Just wanted to put the picture from last month for the Waste and Recycling Workers Week proclamation and photograph. We did have that event last week for our employees, which was well attended, and we provided breakfast and recognition for them. And also each employee received a Bluetooth speaker as part of a small gift for recognition of all that they do throughout the seasons and the heats and changing conditions. Really appreciate this board's willingness to adopt that nation last month, and picture turned out great.
I was able to attend that event, and it really was a wonderful opportunity to thank the people that keep our communities healthy and clean and safe. I was really impressed, and I really enjoyed meeting them. I was glad to be there. Thank you for inviting me, and thanks for doing it.
We appreciate your participation. Next slide, please. So a lot of items here, and I do want to kind of go through some of these in limited detail. I believe everyone is aware that postcard billing is live. So our May services were billed in arrears starting in the month of June. So postcard bills have gone out. Appears to be going well. There's been some limited confusion as to the content of those, and we're actively working to address any concerns that our customers have on this. But
Pretty minor.
yes, correct. So just one small item was that the previous balance, we usually manually enter $0, and it just the printing company didn't actually do that. So it's just limited confusion as part of that. It's something that our accounting software itself does not have that capability, so they have to manually enter it in on the back end. So not a huge deal by any means. We had talked about the radio tower upgrades that we've been collaborating with the county on. We are probably 95% going to move forward with the push-to-talk communication devices, which is a Verizon network type deal. There's a lot of government discounts tied through the county and through those services. I'll report back on this next month along with PGI updates. But our current estimates with the tower upgrades plus replacing the radios in the trucks. If we were to not go this route, was estimated about $400,000. This just very broadly off the top of my memory, it's about 25,000 installation costs for capital for the push to talk, with about $2,500. I'm sorry, $1,200 per month for the subscription fee. So a substantial savings overall, which we'll quantify and report back come next month's board meeting.
When does that, finalizes this next month?
So we're still working with the vendors. We've actually done a pilot test on it and are just working to clarify a few bits and pieces. We met with them last week. It's been a collaborative effort with Salt Lake County IT, Verizon. There's a few other vendors that are supporting these discussions, and we have formal quotes just trying to work out how we best participate in this. I let the county know that we won't be participating in the Mahogany Tower upgrades, which does affect the other entities. That's third bullet, we have and continue to identify other IT cost savings. So again, I'll report more on that next month. But we did refine our subscriptions for network-based services. I think we reduced about 12 different accounts that we were being billed about $100 a month. So a substantial savings that we will document in the PGIs next month as well. A few other things we're working on, we are working on some contract updates and renewals. Salt Lake County, we have two major contracts, one with the Parks and Recreation Department and another one with all of the facilities that are located throughout Salt Lake County. So we're working on some renewals and updates there. Then as it pertains to the specialty curbside collection program, and kudos to Renee for supporting all these items. We've established contracts with the mattress recyclers, with tire recyclers, and with certified Freon removal specialists. And we're actually delivering some of the recovered scrap metal, even from scrap, but also for this program, to scrap metal recyclers. So we're avoiding tipping fee costs, but also taking in additional limited revenue, which we'll quantify and track that. Another item that's of interest, I would assume is of interest, is that we were invited from Draper City to submit a proposal. They went out to RFP this last month, and they currently provide in-house public service through the city, and they're considering disbanding that program. They went to RFP and they invited us to submit a proposal. So last week, huge amount of work from a large group of with their team members did submit a proposal for that. It's a rather rapid review process. We're likely to hear something within the next few weeks, whether or not they want to consider us for interviews, or there could be an opportunity to request final and best and final offers for that proposal. We're not sure who else also submitted proposals for that, but we are excited, and that could be a great add to our services. It would be a contract basis as opposed to within our service area, so there will be some variables there, and I'll continue to report to this body in subsequent meetings.
I want to thank everybody who worked on putting that proposal together. I know that was a lot of work and turnaround time and a good opportunity for the district. So appreciate everybody who worked on it. Thank you.
And just to know, if Draper does not go with Woodward, the information that you have created and gathered and put together is invaluable to the rest of the district. It's really helpful, really thorough. Kudos. Thank you.
And I guess on that note, not in these this list of bullets, West Jordan has an active RFP. They haven't reviewed it in its entirety, but they have been utilizing the private sector for quite some time. So we're going to reach out and see if they want to invite us to also participate in that process.
Great.
That's due mid-July, if that's the case. So again, we're trying to be as sensitive as possible to perceptions of competition, for example. And the Draper RFP response was a public service proposal as part of their RFP. So possibly more to come on this.
And
Scrap
are you,
needs to be someone on the-
sorry to interrupt. Yes, yes, I raised my hand, but I know virtual, it's hard to catch. Do you want questions on this now, or do you want to get through all of your updates and have questions later? I just had a follow-up question on the Draper.
Questions now are fine.
Okay, I second what's already been shared. I love the pursuit of this, and I know how time intensive it was, and what a quick turnaround. So I also appreciate that. Is the idea, and I know it's sensitive, so I understand. But is the idea of potentially, if we were to be awarded this RFP with Draper, is it going to require new trucks or facilities? I'm sure that was more, I'm sure there's more comprehensive information in the RFP that you submitted, and the background information that you would provide to us if we were awarded that RFP. But that's sort of a question I had, and maybe it's a question for later. Like, if we're awarded the RFP, then we'll dig into those things. Is it an effort to sort of act as replacement kind of revenue? Because I know we're still in those negotiations, or at least I think that's my understanding of, with the Harriman withdrawal, et cetera. So I'm trying to piece things together, and maybe this was covered in the retreat, and I was out of town, not able to attend. But anyway, so just kind of a wondering of is this replacement revenue, et cetera? Will it require additional capital investment to fulfill if we're awarded the RFP? And again, you can say that's for later, Marcy. Let's worry about it if we get the award.
No, appreciate the question, and great questions for sure. So we have started to receive some of the back ordered trucks that we ordered back in 2025. So I've asked our fleet team to not put any new trucks out for auction or for sale. The other part is with the Draper RFP, there's a lot of items that they would keep, that they would support through the city itself. So they would still manage all the containers, the billing, there's just a variety of different items there. But in the proposal, we did indicate that we would consider bringing their employees on, keeping them in public service and URS, but also the potential of buying, and this was something that I would bring back to this body, of course, the potential of buying their existing solid waste fleet trucks at fair market value. But as it stands right now, there would be, I believe, on average 6 routes per day in Draper, maybe it was 5, if I recall. But with our fleet and with the new trucks coming in, we could certainly support that. And as you alluded to, of course, timing would be important as well. Revenue replacement, we have to look at that heavily.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Next bullet item, scrap. We continue to see very successful bulky waste season via our seasonal container reservation program. This year, compared to past years, we have, at least thus far until now, we've actually had a 35% increase in container deliveries. So we've been averaging throughout this season thus far 81 container deliveries per day, compared to the past 3 years, average of about 60 containers per day.
That's incredible, really. 5 years ago, that would have been a dream. So, kudos. Don't know how you're doing that.
Thank you. Now the team is working very hard, and
Yeah,
that's part of our shift and our recruitment prevention strategies, and we've actually been retaining the drivers that we need to support.
Oh, great.
There are more data that are presented later on in the scrap program in this information. And as it relates to our discussions previously about the possibility of a curbside bulky waste program, we have started and we are planning to prepare a basically a conceptual curbside bulky waste plan. So that'll be a future presentation to this board. Basically looking at everything from history to what would the new program look like, what would it cost, and looking at the differences of the current scrap program and as it relates to a curbside model. Of course, still a lot of things to figure out with the canyon communities. And right now we're thinking that retaining the trailer-based program in lieu of scrap for the canyons would probably make the most sense. we'll provide more information. That'll be a rather comprehensive, plan that we'll present, hopefully in a couple of months as well.
From the canyons.
Then we do have two upcoming events. This week actually is the Kearns and Oker Highlands. Oker Highlands is now part of West Jordan. Is the public bulky waste drop-off event from Tuesday through Thursday. I've been in contact with board member Longton on that. If there's more information that you need from us, or we can help to better promote it, please let us know.
We went ahead and sent out like a Kearns text. We're trying this new two-way text strategy just to keep people up to date with everything. So we did a mass push just to get the information out. And so far, so good, I think. We're trying new things too.
Awesome. So that will be this week, and then the Taylorsville event will be the next one, mid-July. Then we have Mill Creek later in the season, and then Holiday and Northern will be the last event. PGIs, I'll bring those back next month. We'll actually have our second quarter financials, so first half of the year. Next slide, please. We did recently meet with our insurance, general liability, property insurance provider, et cetera. It's the Utah Local Governments Trust. Wanted to highlight some successes here and some improvements. I believe this body, we've discussed what the EMOD is. It's the experience modifier. And that number, like a perfect score, I think is 1, to my understanding. But in the previous years, we've been at about 1.74. This does impact our premiums for 2026, which starts July 1. They're kind of on a fiscal year for our policies and our renewals. That number has gone down to 1.36, 22%, which ends up and equates to a cost savings. So the bottom left of this slide, shows that the compass that you presented as part of the experience modifier. And it's based on the value of adjusted losses per policy year. And so those past 3 years averages do basically result in this EMOD calculation. And so 2021 is dropping off. And as you see, 2024 was a very low year for adjusted losses. 2025, there's likely going to be some adjustments as we get into the 2027 premium year. But also want to point out that these losses are oftentimes, we can't necessarily control them in some cases, and in some cases they're also unavoidable. I believe the current one in 2025 is related to a workers' compensation claim due to a chronic injury that resulted in some other light duty and things like that. So we do offer light duty return to work. That's a big piece of the EMOD and our workers' compensation premiums. So you want to get a worker back into the office if there's a workplace injury within 3 business days. If you see that, then it really spikes and increases our premiums as well. So good news on that front, and kudos to Shane, our safety coordinator, and the entire team for really trying to continue to boost our safety awareness and our safety culture with the organization. Loss ratios, I can't speak to this in like excruciating detail, but when we met with the Utah Local Governments Trust, they said that since inception and our current loss ratios of 24%, and inception at 49%, they did say that it's actually very positive, and it's actually a rather low loss ratio overall. So positive for our organization and for our premiums. And of course, there's still inflationary effects that we're dealing with, but as we can hopefully manage these premiums and work with our insurance provider, the renewal premiums in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide are fairly nominal, and in most cases kind of the same as what we paid for 2025 leading into 2026. So automobile premiums, however, that do show an increase, those will very likely decrease throughout the year. Those are based on currently our leasing of 10 hook lift trucks from the county. So once we take those off, that will be adjusted. So the forecast that the trust put together was based on what we had covered at the time of the review. So that will likely go down, but again, good news here and overall limited, de minimis, increase in our premiums for 2026. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we started to receive some of those trucks we are on back order. We have 8 back ordered. We've received 3 at this point. As we plan to put those in service, our fleet manager and then James, who you all met last month, who presented on our contamination and recycling metrics, built these, what will be considered our new truck banners. So if you look at the bottom left-hand part of the screen, the truck banners fit on the basically the body of the truck. We've put some new banners in place. And one is promoting the specialty curbside collection program, and the second one is promoting our curbside removal program. So just wanted to kind of show these off. I think they're really cool and will look great on our trucks. Next slide.
Is it-
Go ahead.
This is probably just a dumb question, but like, are on both sides of the truck, is it the same image or are they different images on each side?
We've actually talked about that. We may put one of each on each truck because the truck drives down the
Yeah.
road
Okay.
in separate orientations. We haven't decided yet, but we're considering putting one on each side of the truck.
That's cool.
Next slide, please. So an update on the new specialty curbside collection program. So this basically became effective May 1st. And these numbers and data are through June 12th. So I think that's about 5 weeks of the program. Overall, we've fulfilled 33 service orders for an amount of roughly $1,500. And a total of several appliances, which is shown here. So I didn't print on the screen. But we have seen participation in nearly all of our partner cities and service areas. The biggest item, surprisingly, that we've seen numbers of are the non-Freon containing appliances, washer dryer, oven ranges, hot water heaters, for example. 11 Freon containing appliances, and mattresses, of course, which we're seeing a much larger amount of mattresses in our scrap program, which we'll talk about a little bit later beyond this program. Next slide, please. Renee and our data specialist and analyst has put together a heat map of this program. And so those blue circles represent where we've collected materials from those 31 service orders. So again, you can see that it's participation from nearly all of our service areas. I don't believe that we've serviced outside of our service area at this time, which is an option that we've provided as part of that. But again, participation in Magna, Kearns, Taylorsville, Holiday, Mill Creek, Emigration, Harriman, Sandy and White City, and Cottonwood Heights. So I think this program will continue to grow. It's been very manageable with the volumes we've seen thus far. This is something we brought in with no cost impact, no increase in our worker allocations as well. The pictures on the left are kind of showing how we're storing those materials under a canopy covered service. Mattresses are coming in bagged as we've requested. But once we bulk and fill these containers up, then we direct haul those to the reclamation facility. So we're maximizing our efficiencies that way and not taking individual pieces to different locations. And then scrap metal, once we recover the Freon, other appliances, that scrap metal is sent to a scrap metal recycling yard. And we're receiving limited revenue as part of that.
I'm really excited about this program and it's just the first 5 weeks I'm glad to see that it's coming along, and I can only imagine it's just gonna grow as people become more aware of it and as people goes around. Excited.
I don't have any truck banners.
Yeah. There you go.
Next slide, please. Yes.
Fine. I've had neighbors ask if they could possibly, because it's the $25 to get them out there, right? And then to pick up the item is the additional cost, right?
Base is $20 is the base pickup.
Okay, so I guess there are neighbors that are getting some tires together. Could they possibly just have one person? I don't know if I'm making the most sense.
one person pays the bulk rate and then they pick up one tire.
Yeah.
I think they all kind of divided.
And they all kind of are like pitching in together that way. It's,
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
I was like, would that be frowned upon? That's fine.
So long as it's a reasonable amount.
Like 16 tires, but maybe there's like 5 to 7 different tires just for one pickup. That would be.
Yes, yeah, I think we've specified a limit of 12 tires.
Oh,
Yeah. But also, we really want to make sure that we still communicate that those materials are not placed curbside
exactly.
until the evening prior
Yeah.
to pickup. Especially could get the health department's attention if there's tires on the side of the curb. So we want to avoid any of those. But I think that's definitely reasonable and something that we could.
In a picture, I'd love to have. Yeah.
Right.
I'd love to post, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, there's just neighbors wanting to help out and they're like, well, we've got a few, so why don't we just have one person do it? And I was like, that's not a bad idea.
It's great. It's great.
Thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely, and I think next year we will likely want to expand this to include couches, even though that'll be
Definitely.
more challenging and difficult, they're heavier, they're bulkier.
Yeah.
It's unlikely we could get them recycled through the mattress recycler, so as we approach the budget season and look at our fee schedule, like looking at different types of couches that we could include, also as part of this program.
Excellent. Thank you for allowing me to interrupt.
Absolutely. Appreciate the questions. Next and final slide, I believe. So this is a lot of data on our overall scrap program for the year. Upper left is showing the average containers per day. But there's a lot of other information on here that I want to go through to a limited extent. So we have, one of the items we've done to increase our efficiencies is, in addition to the increase in driver allocations, and the public drop-off events that we're working through. We had the Magna event recently, was less participation than we were anticipating, but a total of 50 different residential customers came through for the Magna. So we're hoping to see more for Kearns. And then we were kind of expecting quite a bit more. We've actually opened up allocations for those events of up to 30 residential loads per hour. So that would be a lot, but we're trying to kind of space those out. We don't see that that's necessarily going to be the case, but Kearns is this week where we're planning to see more materials come through and actually planning to support the safe and successful execution of those public drop-off events. More to come on this, and we'll talk about that later time. So the other thing that we've been doing is we've been partnering with Salt Lake County Public Works, and in some cases the Parks Department, to where we're taking the individual containers that we pull from household driveways to a central nearby area. Then we have a skid steer, basically a small machine that's taking those containers and loading those into our rear load trucks. And so we've been able to realize a lot of added efficiencies, reduce mileage, increase tonnage per haul, just really maximizing those overall operational efficiencies. So just below the 81, you'll see that number 5.18. So we've been hauling different types of containers to the landfills and transfer stations. As part of that central bulk loading, we're also pulling out where we can scrap metal that we can recycle, so avoiding some of that tonnage and disposal fees. The average, when we've hauled the rear load trucks that are packed out from the central loading, we've averaged 5.18 tons per load. Hook lift, which is the regular scrap containers, and those are usually the heavier ones that we're hauling direct to the disposition facility, have averaged 0.85 tons per haul. Light duty are the trailers, that's largely from Emigration Canyon. We've averaged about 0.68 tons for those in Emigration, and overall 1.08 tons per haul per container or truck collectively combined. Cans tipped / bulk loaded, that's kind of on the center right hand portion of the slide. So we've bulk loaded about 1,500 and we've direct hauled about 2,400 containers as a whole. So we're trying to increase that and maximize those efficiencies, which have actually worked out quite well to our advantage. But we can't always do that in some cases. And then I'll continue on the bottom right hand portion. We've hauled as part of scrap 103 mattresses, which does incur additional charges on top of the disposal tonnage tipping fee. So we paid another $1,800 for mattresses for the scrap season. This is separate from the specialty collections curbside program. When and where we can, we pull those out. We're trying to bulk load those similar to the SCCS program, and then direct haul those for recycling. But we can't always do that in a lot of cases as well.
Did we charge them? Because they're not supposed to be 20, did we charge the renter for?
We do not for mattresses, and we do accept them as part of
Oh,
the
there are.
program. There were some items that we listed as prohibited materials, which would be refrigerators, paint, chemicals,
Yeah.
compressed gases, et cetera. We're still seeing those, but we actually haven't explored nor used those contamination charges as part of that. We can, but it's also very difficult to track as well. So,
Who's storing them in?
right, so we have to pull those out and centralize those, and yeah, I actually had a couple of refrigerators that were filled with like rotten meats and the worst smell that you would ever smell if you want to experience that. We've taken pictures. And surprisingly, no tires. We're pulling those out, and that's actually been a success this year. For those, we do get charged substantially. Scrap metal revenues. This is only with a few. We'll track this and have more information on this. But $500 in scrap metal revenue as a whole. And then looking at the upper right-hand corner of this slide, just looking at the total tip fees and the amount we're paying per ton. As you'll see, Transjordan does stick out like a sore thumb. It's much more expensive. So given proximity of Harriman, Copperton, and Southwest, we mostly direct hauled containers to that facility. Transjordan has a minimum 1 ton charge. So when those containers are less than 1 ton, we get charged the full rate of $41 per ton. And that drives up that average cost per ton as a whole for these containers.
But even with that increased cost, it's not worth taking those loads to other landfills? Or because of the extra gas?
The drive time and the distance, the team, unfortunately, so during those events, we weren't able to maximize and fully utilize the central bulk loading, which would have helped in that capacity. That's kind of part of what that process is. And then the bottom left-hand portion of the screen, I wanted to share some of the information here. So last year we averaged, I think in full for the season, 9% of all households received a scrap container throughout the entirety of the district's service area. So there are some variability here in these numbers. So for example, Pinewood Heights, I learned that the amount of reservations that we allocated for online were not actually fully utilized. And so people who were on the wait list for Willow Creek and Granite and Sandy Hills, they were given those containers for the wait list. So you can see on that far right-hand column, percent of households, Pinewood Heights 12%, Willow Creek 17%, Granite 14%, and Sandy Hills 17%. So that's why there's some variables there. White City, we have way more, and again, we'll present more information in subsequent months at the end of the season. 4B Lane is kind of that unique island, only has the 5 households. There were no reservations this year, so we did not have any services there. And I could look at past numbers, or Renee might be able to pull it up quickly if there are questions. Harriman, we serviced about 10% of households, which I know is definitely more than previous years. So 1,112 scrap containers on Harriman alone, 24 in the Southwest, and 28 Copperton. Copperton actually was another community that did not fill all of its reservation allocations that were provided for them as well. And then Magna, huge increase. I think we were at like 700 last year, so almost 1,000, 950 containers plus the public drop off. Then Emigration is the one that we provided trailers in lieu of scrap containers throughout the month of May, and still hovered at that roughly 9%. So haven't shown a big increase there, but I think there were some wait lists that we reopened and filled those in as well. But total reserve was, I think, let's say 59. 3 were canceled and 56 in total were serviced for Emigration. Overall, doing very well. Wanted to bring this information forward, and as we get towards the end of the season, we'll have more analysis, and we'll look at, how many reservations were made, wait lists were there, how many wait lists were fulfilled. We'll have more information moving forward. So.
Well, we appreciate all of that, and we know scrap is a big undertaking and one that we all appreciate, as controversial as it can sometimes be, we all need it and are grateful for it, so thank you. Any other questions from anyone online with any part of Evan's presentation? All right, moving on, we'll talk about the adoption of the district drug and alcohol testing policy, and that's Evan.
Yes, and I can introduce this. Could be a lengthy discussion or it could be a short discussion. So we, as operators of commercial motor vehicles, are required to adhere to Department of Transportation, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration requirements for drug and alcohol testing for our safety sensitive positions, which would mean someone who's operating with a CDL, is operating a commercial motor vehicle, or operating heavy equipment, in some cases that we have limited capacity within the organization. So currently we have an SOP, and our policy manual speaks towards our drug and alcohol testing policy. The SOP we have is a little bit dated and obsolete. So we contract with a third-party drug and alcohol testing provider, CODA, whom I've worked with in the past as well, but they have provided this to us for us to consider adopting. And this is a policy, which is why we brought it to this body. But this is a DOT approved and legally reviewed drug and alcohol testing policy that CODA has provided for our use should this body elect to adopt this policy. And it includes items for pre-employment testing, random testing, post-accident testing. From my perspective, this better protects the organization of this policy and its level of detail and information contained within it, but also it better protects our drivers and our workforce so they can better understand their rights, their options, and how this process works. And so if this were to be adopted, we would roll this out July 1 and have this be take place of our SOP and be our new internal policy for all of those testing requirements, DOT clearinghouse reporting requirements. There's a lot that goes into this. And CODA will still provide the testing services, and they provide the MRO, medical review officer, for the testing as well. This document also better determines and identifies what's considered the employer DER, or designated employer representative. And that's been named to be, would be my position, would be me, Hazel, our safety coordinator, and our operations manager, David Vico, is actually on PTO vacation this week, so that's why he's not here today. But that basically gives us the ability to, if there's a failed test or refusal to test an issue, then we have the authority to remove those employees that are affected from safety sensitive duties and positions as part of that. So,
is that new? Like to remove them from safety sensitive duties? Is that new?
It's not. So DR is a common vernacular phrase in this industry. Currently, our SOP identifies the fleet asset manager as the designated employee representative. We wanted to kind of expand that, and that's allowable per the FMCSA rules. So we have more people if someone's out or on vacation. So if we get those results, if we're notified of a refusal to test or failure to test or a positive results, we have immediately authority to remove those employees from safety sensitive positions and follow this policy accordingly. So happy to take any questions. This is somewhat of a lengthy document. I would appreciate if this body would adopt this policy for its use moving forward.
I like how you presented it as a safety issue. We're actually out there working, driving, like that. I think it's a really important thing to communicate to the workforce. Do you see any questions or negative responses or some things that need to be managed as far as morale for the workforce? I mean, what's the effect going to be if it changes? Will it be clear or will there be confusion? Like that?
No, I don't think that's confusion. I think this will just make it clearer and also ties us more closely to the Federal Department of Transportation. You know, with the wording language in this policy. Yeah.
I guess the only reason I say that is because if it's hard to attract CDL drivers, it's not clear that they're being protected or what the new system is. I hate to see that we're losing CDL drivers because it's not. That's all.
Yeah, the policy or the policy from the Department of Transportation hasn't changed. We're just trying to make it more clear to the drivers. So this one is a little more detailed. But they do understand, you know, any CDL filter is
I would assume.
included in the pool for random testing, and then,
Sure.
since HR is kind of the neutral party, HR and Shane, safety coordinator, we handle the random testing and everything. So they're used to that. Yeah.
Matt, board member Holton has a question. He said, how much different is this from our current policy?
That was my question.
So this is, in essence, just adding clarity and adding more detail that, as I mentioned, better protects the districts, but also better expresses and demonstrates the drivers, the workers' rights, but also better protects them and that better understanding what their options are, what their rights are, et cetera. There's provisions for splitting a sample. If a sample comes back positive, the driver has the opportunity to request the split sample be sent to a separate laboratory. So it's really specifying and enhancing their rights. From a procedural perspective, what we're doing currently, we are in compliance with the pre-employment and the random ongoing testing for our safety sensitive positions. We also have a more stringent post-accident testing policy to where every incident, in essence, a driver is taken for a test just to protect the organization. Maybe look at that as well, but ultimately, this will replace our SOP, which is somewhat obsolete and outdated. Provide more clarity and will be more protective to the organization. Also, nothing truly changes. The major changes will be the designation of the DER, designated employee representative, but nothing changes from what we've currently been practicing. But it just kind of really expands and clarifies, again, better protects the organization and our workforce to express their rights and understanding of the drug and alcohol test requirements under DOT and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Does that answer your questions, Board Member Holton?
Yeah, all good.
All right. Any other questions that we have about this new policy? My questions have been answered. That's the case, then I'll take a motion to adopt the new district drug and alcohol testing policy for safety sensitive positions, commercial driver's license holders and commercial motor vehicle operators.
This is Lisa. I move we adopt the district drug and alcohol testing policy for safety sensitive positions, commercial drivers, license holders, and commercial vehicle operators.
I will second.
Thank you, Marcy. The motion in a second. We'll do a roll call for this. Or we can do verbal. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, that takes care of 2.3, 2.4. Consider it for customer appeal of 2-year credit determination. Oh wait, is that is that what we just did, or is that?
No, this is
separate.
separate.
This is just so we're now updating this.
Now we have to update the policy. Okay. So now we need to update the policy. All right, so we need to take another motion? Right? Or
Yes,
It's something different.
oh, this is something different. Yeah, go ahead, then.
So item 3.4 is consideration to adopt updates to the district's overall policy manual that this body adopts. And so section 9.39 in our current policy manual speaks towards an alcohol and drug-free workplace. So we wanted to propose some edits to bring this into conformance with now what this body just adopted as part of the larger policy for drug and alcohol testing. So we've provided some red line recommendations here for edits and additions, and in some cases strikeouts, to now bring the overarching policy manual into conformance with the new DOT drug and alcohol testing policy. So Rachel has reviewed these. We've worked on these collectively. This would only make updates to section 9.39 as reflected in the board packet, and we would ultimately replace the policy manual that's currently dated March 2nd of 2026 to June 22nd, 2026, with the changes that are reflected in section 9.39 drug-free workplace.
Great. Sorry, I was completing. Any questions on updating section 9.39? The policy manual?
Yep.
All right, seeing as how we have no questions, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve updating the SLP.
So,
Okay. Was that a second at least?
yeah.
Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes to update policy manual. All right, now, Helen, we move on to considerations for customer appeal to.
Well, we had a customer who had a duplex at one point where they had a mother-in-law basement and then they had their room floor, and so there were two separate dwelling units. They were being billed as such. And then at some point, they actually changed that to that the mother-in-law apartment became a single family dwelling. We did not get that updated information, and therefore we did not change their account. We continued to bill them as a duplex, meaning that they were getting billed for two waste charges. So a waste can and a recycle can and another waste can and recycle can for the two individual units. Apparently the change into a single family dwelling happened several years ago. When we were contacted this year about this issue, we went and gave them a credit of $565.50, which represented the credit for a 2-year period, the most recent 2-year period. That is in conformance with our policy that we will go back for 2 years on cases like this and approve those. He would like a further credit because it was such a long time that this had happened going forward. So he's written us a letter, an appeal letter actually to the board. And the reason it's coming to the board is because, as I said, our policy right now dictates that we can only go back 2 years. So he's appealing to you to ask to go back an additional 2 years. If you go back an additional 2 years, that will be another $445.50 credit to this customer. And it would be in compliance with the state code for utilities, which gives a statute of limitations on these types of items for utilities of 4 years. So that's the issue. And if you want to add anything here.
Oh, no.
We are recommending that you, as staff, we are recommending that you approve this for this customer. Of course, it's your choice, but that's what we're asking for, is for you to make a motion and approve this additional 2 years of credit for this customer.
I think even though our policy is different because within the state statute of limitations of 4 years, it makes sense. Does anyone have any other thoughts on Greg?
I've been reviewing the paperwork on it and I feel really bad.
Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we should.
Any other thoughts? All right, so we need to take a formal motion for this. Okay, so motion to approve, customer appeal of the 2-year credit determination.
Move that we approve the appeal for the 2-year credit.
I'll second.
All right, the motion to the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we can help that customer out. All right, so we need a closed session this week? All right. Okay, is there any other board business that we need to address? Yes, Jerry?
The Harriman Council's asked me to give an update directly to the board on our withdrawal process, negotiations and timeline. So bear with me, I'm just gonna read through this to avoid any miscommunication. I'm gonna give some talking points by our attorney. So he just wanted me to outline what the process is under withdrawal rules under HB 29, and then kind of what our negotiations timeline has been and going forward. So under HB 429, under the recently enacted HB 429, withdrawal process follows a strictly statutory framework. Initiation of withdrawing entity files a formal notice of intent to withdraw from the district. We sent it out, I believe, May 19th, and sent a copy to every board member. Feasibility study trigger. Withdrawing entity and the district cannot reach a mutual agreement on exit terms. The withdrawing entity engages an independent feasibility consultant. With the time frame for that is 30 days after the letter sent. That was so May 19th to June 19th, which was a federal holiday on Friday. We plan to send that off this Wednesday, the 24th. And then when we receive the responses from that, we'll send an invitation to whoever to participate in selecting that consultant. For that, so then you wanted me to kind of detail what the RFP is supposed to do. The asset allocation mandate, the consultant is legally required to produce a report that determines, among other factors, a fair and equitable division of the quote garbage disposal district assets and liabilities to be allocated to the withdrawing entity. Finalization of the process following the public hearing on the feasibility report, the withdrawing entities legislative body may pass a resolution, quote, to establish the terms of the withdrawal, including the withdrawing entities agreement to comply with any conditions included in the feasibility study report. So that's the process under that. We've stated over and over our willingness and preference to find a negotiation, mutually negotiated agreement. We've explored withdrawing from Woodford for several years. Woodford did not offer a definitive withdrawal process until HB 429 was filed during the legislative session. I'll add, during those discussions, we were told over and over, we don't have to let you out. And I believe in the previous last couple of board meetings, there's been a few board members that expressed, well, we don't want to let them out. I believe council and others adequately dispelled that notion that under HB, there is a definitive process. In a meeting we had late February, early March, Woodford indicated that retrieving the waste cans currently located within Harriman would cost the district approximately $400,000. To avoid this cost, Woodford stated its willingness to leave the cans with the city upon withdrawal as part of a new proposal from Woodford to find a mutual agreement to let us out. That was the first time it was brought up. We took it back to the council, and during that meeting, the attorney and I stated that this is new. We take the council, see if they wanted, see what their response was, but we were more than confident that they would want to participate in a negotiated agreement. However, we were concerned about other assets than just the cans. Under HB 420, Harriman was statutorily entitled to a fair and equal division of Woodford's assets and liabilities based on initial data provided by Woodford at that subsequent meeting. Harriman accounts for approximately 13% of the district's total services. While Woodford representatives have verbally disputed the 13% figure since then, they've not provided an alternative data or calculation formulas to establish a different share, despite multiple requests for Harriman to do so. So we've used the district's data in forming our request that we sent you all in that letter on May 19th. Early April, representatives from both parties met to discuss exit terms. Harriman presented the draft general agreement proposing the 13% division of assets and liabilities, aligning with its service share. Woodford insisted its only obligations permitted for withdrawal under AP 429 and characterized allowing Harriman residents to keep their waste cans as a generous concession. So more or less, that's all there will be. Late April, Harriman sent the formal letter. Late April sent the formal letter, and then a subsequent one on May 19th. Okay, so I'll read it. I'll do as I'm instructed. I always want to summarize. Late April, Harriman sent a formal letter reiterating the Woodford's statutory obligation to allocate assets and abilities to facilitate a settlement, Harriman offered to accept less than what the statute provides by entirely foregoing any claims to the district's land and building equity. In exchange, Harriman proposed the following settlement: 1, retention of waste cans; 2, 13% of waste truck fleet, approximately 7 trucks; and 3, 13% of Woodford cash reserves. Harriman did not receive a counter offer from Woodford to this or the prior proposal. In May, we sent the subsequent letter. Harriman met with Representative Brucci and Woodford to discuss the impasse. Woodford suggested utilizing lobbyists to negotiate the exit terms, which Harriman accepted. To date, these negotiations, I believe there's been 2, have not been productive. Woodford's representatives have maintained their initial failure position, offering only the withdrawal itself, the retention of waste cans. I'll add, so this is me interjecting this. Our lobbyist report was that he was told, quote, from the Woodford representative, we're not going to negotiate against ourselves in both meetings. So
I'm sorry, repeat that, Chair.
we are not going to negotiate against ourselves, was the response in both of those meetings. So the current status for Harriman remains open to negotiation, however, without significant progress or willingness to really engage in those discussions. The city will be hiring the feasibility consultant and follow the statutory withdrawal process. In an attempt to make a good faith effort to reach a mutual agreement, Harriman is offering another revised proposal, which was stated in the most recent meeting with the lobbyists: retention of waste cans; 2, retention of 7 garbage trucks to represent fair and a fair distribution of ages and condition of trucks, right? So not just the oldest ones aging out. And 3, inclusion of a favored nations clause for a period of 7 years.
So Jared, so the newest proposal from Harriman is the 7 trucks, the
Cans, 7 trucks, and including a favored nations clause for 7 years.
Okay. Does that include, they still are requesting the 13% of assets?
No, those are the 3.
Okay.
We were told we're not going to negotiate against ourselves.
And tell me, because I'm not in the legal field, favored nation.
So I'm not an attorney either. My expertise lie in finance, but
Maybe Rachel.
Rachel to go. My understanding is the favored nations simply we're looking for if other entities, other members exit and have more favorable terms that will retroactively given those if the organization dissolves, that we're given those terms. Yeah.
That's more or less, yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming and sharing that. That perspective is different than I had been told, and so that's actually incredibly helpful.
That's kind of why I was asked to come. Our mayors talked to several other mayors, and that was not what they had. That was not their understanding. So I wanted to clear up miscommunication, as we thought this should be a lot.
My understanding is that the negotiations had been going well, so that is really good to hear that is not your understanding and not the understanding of ours. So
that offer was made and more or less rejected.
okay, so that is really helpful to understand where you're coming from as we move forward with those negotiations. I think at this point, just so that we're not renegotiating in a lot of different fronts, it makes sense to me to at least continue having the lobbyists be the negotiators, but I think maybe we need to clarify some things so that we can.
I would say that the lobbyist route has been less productive.
Okay, okay, we'll definitely look into that. That's good. I'm glad to hear that's your perspective. Yeah, that is really helpful. We have any other questions for Jared about this? Jared, would you be comfortable like leaving a copy of that statement?
Yeah, they're going to send that out.
Okay, all right, that would be very helpful. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions for Jared about that? Good.
So I scribbled a bunch of.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That was
Yeah, no, I totally
very,
agree. Yeah, okay.
very thorough.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
That's really helpful.
That, yeah. All right, so next month we have general manager report, financial report, fraud risk assessment, looking at boundary adjustments. We're looking forward. Do we have anything else that we want to look at for next month? I don't think I'm gonna be able to be at the board meeting next month, but Anna said that she could for that. So. All right. If we don't have anything else, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
This is Lisa, move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn then.
Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
I need it, right, the right ways, because everybody just wants to.
I think we talked about that, for I didn't know.
Okay, so you're trying to. We pushed out earlier.